Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
Regen auf mein Kopf. Hinter via Deck muss es die kleine Fahrt beim Top. Geht mir kein Sach mit, die
Welcome to Kill Me Now with Judy Gold. I'm your host, Judy Gold, and this week we are revisiting my interview with Elayne Boosler, who is one of my idols. Watched her a lot when I was growing up, and she made me really want to do I wanted to do stand-up, but she was one of the breaking the glass ceilings, and she was really in the clubs at a time where there were no women. I just love her. So you're going to love this interview. It was fantastic. I love these revisits because I'm doing my show now. We were in previews. I did my first 2 previews. And I had to ask for lines multiple times, right, Elisa?
A few.
A couple times.
But
I made it work because I'm a pro. And it's going really well. If you're in New York, you have to come see the show. Yes, I can say that, at 59E59, which is on 59 East 59th Street. It's called 59E59 Theater. So I have just been doing tech rehearsals all day and then performances at night, and it's definitely getting there. It's almost there, and I'm really excited. I think it's really important, and you better get your fucking asses there. This week you get to hear, one of my idols, and brilliant. And Elayne Boosler, I don't know if you know this, she has written New York Times crossword puzzles. Did you know that, Elisa?
No.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, she has created, she is very smart. And I hope that when we have these revisits, like we had the revisit with Lorraine Newman, that you go and Google the videos and the films and it's just video and films and, articles, whatever, and read more about them and get to know them, because they have definitely paved the fucking way. Anyway, so that's that. I'm so excited. I would comment on politics. The only thing I'm going to comment on is that fucking Murdaugh trial. First of all, Elisa is obsessed with the Murdaugh trial. Obsessed. And you don't get obsessed at a lot of things.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
So she's really, really obsessed. So she has gotten me into being really obsessed with what a bunch of fucking white motherfucking privileged pieces of shit. And how many murders did they cause?
Well, definitely 2, perhaps 4.
Yeah,
5.
4 or 5. I mean, who are these fucking people? It's just unbelievable. Also, I didn't watch Chris Rock's special because I didn't have time, but I'm going to watch it, and I love Chris Rock, FYI. I love him. I think he's awesome. And I love that, he addressed this and got the last fucking laugh like he always does. What else? What else do we want to talk about? Anything else? Still hate George Santos. Kellyanne Conway and George Conway are getting divorced. Isn't that great? Because the fucking assholes. I don't know how he could have, been married. And then they're getting divorced. I don't know if you heard this. And then Trump, the fucking piece of shit, wrote some horrible thing about how ugly and horrible George Conway is. Okay. But Kellyanne will still be on Trump's fucking side. Whatever. I hate these fucking scumbags. DeSantis is dangerous. He is now trying to get bloggers and people who write about him having to register with the state. This is shit that happened during the Third Reich. This guy's a fucking dangerous piece of shit. It's just beyond. And he's more dangerous because he's educated. Like Trump and the fucking white supremacist idiot motherfuckers, they're dangerous, but they're fucking dumb. All right, that's it. You have to come see my show. You have to come see my show. And I want you to really sit back, relax, and enjoy my interview with the one and only Elayne Boosler. Woo! Welcome to Kill Me Now with Elayne Boosler.
Make some noise. Say it again. Welcome to what?
Kill Me Now.
Oh, Kill Me Now.
With Elayne. Elaine, this is like, you're my dream guest.
Yeah.
You're my... What are you yang me?
Well, thank you very much.
You are my dream.
Now, why would that be?
You know,
because
Elaine,
I get you, doll.
You did not graduate high school.
I did not. Sheep said Bay High.
Yeah.
You know how in the old days they had two kinds of diplomas? One was an academic, which meant you went to school. The other was called a general. It means we saw you here once, we need the chair, get out.
Right.
So that's what I got. And because my birthday's in the summer, I was 16, so I was out at 16.
And did your family as a Jew... That is Elayne Boosler.
That's me drinking water. Very I have no idea what, I don't, it's all blacked out. I remember nothing before my first Tonight Show.
But you went to the Academy, what is it?
That's when I was a little kid to keep me off the streets.
Really?
Yeah.
So
you
were
forced me
like...
into these lessons just so I couldn't have any kind of a life with friends.
Oh, that's good.
Because
But
it was
made you a
total
great
control.
comic. Yeah.
Well, no, that had nothing to do with it.
Really? You think so?
American Academy of Dramatic Arts when you're 10?
The fact that you were, forced to do all this shit.
Well, you know how people say about this government, oh, it must be so great material.
Right.
And I say, I'd rather have a good government and talk about my weight.
Yeah.
I feel the same about my childhood. Oh, look what it gave you. I go, I would have rather have had a good childhood and be married with 3 kids and a nice yellow couch now.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, look what you got.
You want a yellow couch?
A lemon yellow cut velvet. Belle!
This bell sucks. It's fucking broken.
Oh, no. You know why? We gave it a nervous breakdown within the first 5 minutes of the podcast. That's why. Within 5 minutes it went, holy cow, this is heavy duty.
I love it. Now, you
yes.
were a singer-dancer. You went on tour at Godspell, like a bunch of...
Okay, all that stuff.
Right? So
yeah.
you were really a... I
was just trying to do anything. No, I wasn't. I had no gifts, and I certainly didn't sing by myself. And
right.
No gifts.
You were in the company part of these shows.
Well, you know what I did? There was a paper called Show Business and Backstage. There were two.
I remember.
50 cents.
Yeah.
And I would look at the ads and whatever they were looking for just to, I was working in a clothing store at 14.
Right.
I needed to get out of there. And I think when I was about 16, 17, they were advertising for dancers and singers for a show at the Lucayan Beach Hotel in the Bahamas.
Wow.
And I lied about my age and got the job, and I got to live in the Bahamas for 6 months and walk to work in the ocean every night.
No way.
No, it's true.
And you were 16?
Well, 17 by then.
Wow.
And
very independent.
Yeah.
Elaine.
So I was, in that silly little show. It was three girls and 3 guys, and I had the time of my life, and they were all very dedicated show business.
Did you tell anyone your real age?
No. And they were holding ballet classes every afternoon and voice, and I was, sleeping with all the croupiers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're going, you're just horrible. And I said, look, I have no interest in anything but paying rent. I just want freedom and, life. And it's very funny because years later, and they were all very talented.
Right.
Years later, I'm walking up Broadway, and one of the guys is walking up Broadway, this little boy about 3 years old. And we stopped and said hi. It was many years later. And he looked at me and said, I just have one question. Why you? Why you?
Wow.
And, instead of getting upset because you have no idea, well, you do know what people say to us.
Oh, please.
We're garbage. We're the lowest of the low. They will come up and say anything to you.
And tell you jokes and
it's the lowest of the low. So instead of lashing out, I just said, hey, Tom, you look at this beautiful little boy. You're in New York. You have a nice life. Just be grateful. It's all good. Nobody knows why anything. But I wanted to say, well, dude, I had something you didn't have.
You know what?
Which
you
was
want the answer to that?
A gift.
And the answer to that question is the question you asked right there.
Exactly.
That you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Tom. You fucking asshole.
Oh, well, right. No.
No, Tom, good.
People don't get, look.
Barry Bitterman. Okay. So you get a job at the Improv. as a door person. Is
well,
that
I
correct?
actually went as a waitress. And you
Okay.
want to talk about, who's calling? Who's calling you?
No, it's
All
the
right,
fucking
let me turn off
comedy
my ringer
seller.
while we're
All
talking.
right.
What was funny was you talk about Me Too now and all this stuff and how we went to work. You know, my joke is I started out so long ago, we didn't have a word for sexual harassment. We just called it going to work. Which is true. And so I go for the interview as a waitress to, the Improv, Bud Friedman, wash my mouth out with soap. And thank you. So I we're talking and he said, why'd you get fired from your last job? And it's true. After the Lucayne Beach Hotel, they all started doing cruises, the same company.
Right.
And they fired me because they said I was ugly. So,
They literally said...
They said, you're ugly.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. But I was very cute, I have to tell you.
That is the most... Are you fucking kidding me?
Will they say anything to us?
That's
anything.
true.
And I have to tell you, I was so beautiful you could die.
Oh, yeah, you were...
Go on my website and look at
the pictures are fucking...
ElayneBoosler.com photos. And if you look at the early
they're
days
amazing.
of me as a dancer, you will fall down and die. I was beautiful. So it just shattered me, And so he said, well...
But that wasn't the first time the last time you'd heard something so horrible like that.
I've heard a million things, but I'm just saying that's why they fired
Right.
me and took the other people on the cruise.
Right.
And I was just stunned. So when I went to get the job as a waitress at the Improv, I was 20. And Bud said, well, why'd you get fired from your last job? He said, they said I was ugly. He said, well, what do you mean ugly? I said, oh, they said my nose was too big. This is what he says to someone who comes in for a job. Your nose, I haven't gotten past your tits yet. And I was so happy to get the job because,
Are you fucking...
No, that's how they talk to you. So I got the job, and no kidding, that was a setup for what was the next 2 years of removing his hand from my ass every day of my life for 2.5 years. And just it was horrendous and wonderful without his part, 2.5 years.
I found, I've listened to several interviews that you've done. And
I love that your little book is full of writing and that you actually care. Thank you.
Yes, look at 3
nobody
pages.
does that.
You do. I have 3
no
pages
one does
on you.
that. I love you.
Well, I love you. And I just want to say...
That's so kind.
There were so many things that I found as someone who came after you that were so heartwarming. The fact that, you ended up going on stage one night because there were
that's all true.
Right, 3 Japanese people in the audience, and Bud's like, go up there, and you're like, I did
I already
my songs.
sang my 3 songs.
Yeah. And he's like, well, go talk.
Go talk. You're funny anyway.
And you go up, and then 2 other comics come back on and act like they're urinating on you.
Well, actually, I talked for an hour. Does that sound familiar, Mrs. Maisel? And thank you when you were accepting your Emmy, saying, gee, we did a lot of research. Possibly my script that went around Hollywood for 15 years with all the stories in it that are now on Mrs. Maisel.
Yes.
Thank you. And fuck you people.
Right.
Anyway, I went up and talked for an hour. Thank you. Was that Jewish? Talked for an hour, I was so happy to be away from him and away from the door where I was freezing because he kept it open no matter what, and I was right in the door. And that night...
Oh, God, that door. I remember that door.
He would hook it open, and I had bronchitis for 2.5 years because he wouldn't let me close the door. Like, he needs it open.
Well, just so you know, because he was gone by the time I started there,
Oh,
and
really?
Silver was there, and we had the door closed
Another
all the
pleasure.
fucking time. Yeah. Silver, sorry.
Well, it was so funny because he'd chain it open, and it was -2 degrees on 44th and 9th.
Yeah.
Hell's Kitchen when it was Hell's
Kitchen. You're not kidding.
And then Andy Kaufman would come and quietly unchain the door so it could close so I wouldn't die. But so I went on stage, talked for an hour, 2:00 in the morning. All the guys had come back from their gigs. They were in suits. So Freddie Prinze, Richard Belzer, and a wonderful comic named Tom Curley, who was half of Edmonds and Curley.
Right.
About halfway through, they were so stunned at what
how
I was
funny
doing.
you are.
And I had no idea that it was anything valuable, that they all came up with their backs to the audience and mimed peeing on me. And I have to tell you, I know it sounds terrible to normal people,
It's
but
hilarious.
it was the greatest compliment of my life.
To get shit on by another comic is a great...
I knew that, wow, there's some respect. I know it sounds terrible to normal people.
They don't get it.
But it was the best thing that could have... So I come off after an hour, and it was like, you know how they used to part in the Westerns after the shootout when the guy who made it walked through.
Yeah.
It was like walking down Main Street, and they said, "Do you know what you just did?" And I said, "No." And they said, I said, "That was nothing," because everything in my life that was worth anything was so hard.
Right.
And such a struggle.
Right.
Math and school and dancing and trying to sing.
Right.
I was terrible at everything.
Right.
This was like, boom.
Right.
Nothing. And
It's
they
like
said,
an out-of-body experience.
yeah, because I had no idea that's what I was born to do.
That's what I felt the first time I did stand-up.
Judy,
I felt like, oh my God, what the fuck is this?
See, but I didn't even feel that.
Oh, I did.
Because to me, I just felt like, hey, I got away from this lech for an hour.
Right.
And that was nothing. And they said, you have no idea what you did. I said, you're right. And they said, I said, it was nothing. It was so easy. It was nothing. And they said, you're going to find out, what that was. But I had no idea. I kept singing for like another, year.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
There's so many interesting things about you and your career path. One of them, from my perspective, is that, Andy Kaufman, who you were, soulmates.
Well, we lived
basically.
together for 2.5
years. Right. And you say that he taught you how to be a comic.
Yeah, he did.
And,
if he was alive today, I'd kill him.
Well, is he alive? No, anyway. So, but
I'll never tell.
And you often, when I hear you speak about those days, it's the Belzer and the Freddie Prinze and the Robin Williams and all these guys, Richard Lewis,
Mike Preminger,
and all Frank Ajay.
Franklin. Franklin was later in L.A. This is my New York group.
Okay, gotcha. But these guys embraced you.
Oh,
they fucking, you were that class of
that
comics.
Class was a family. My first family I ever had.
Right.
Ever.
That's what people do. Like when I go, now I know we're at stand up New York right now, but when I go, I still do sets.
Of course.
4 or 5 nights a week.
I know.
And I'll be in the worst fucking mood and be like, fuck, and then you go on Facebook and this one's, starring in their own fucking,
you can't worry about
and you got to put that out of your head.
Yeah.
When I walk in a comedy club, I feel like I'm home.
Of course.
And just text. So, you
have to know about Facebook. I mean, everyone's life looks better when people say, "Oh my God, you're doing so well," and I'm not.
Please.
And I say, you have to understand Facebook is my business card, not my diary.
Oh, that's what I say. Get a fucking diary. And you know what I'm sick of? If you're on Facebook, like people who take photos of themselves in a hospital room and don't say why they're there. Hi, wish me luck, think good thoughts. What the fuck are you in the hospital
And then you
for?
find out that it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
My favorite is my mother died 94 years ago, and I still miss her to this day. And I go, lucky you.
Yeah.
I tried to kill my mother.
So Richard Lewis,
Mr. Nuts, who I love.
I love, nicest guy in the world.
Oh gosh, yeah, and the craziest, maybe.
Yes. He said that you were the Jackie Robinson of his stand-up class.
That's true. They saw what I went through. They knew what I was going through.
And I have to say,
and plus I was batting .340 at the time.
Right.
So
whatever was there with that group, what didn't translate to my group of male. I always have thought that the male comics in my sort of generation really boosted each other up and helped each other out. But
I have heard about this, seen it, and known it.
Yeah, and
we were the first and last generation.
Yeah, where the fuck did that go? I mean, the only people who've given me like major jobs, Rosie O'Donnell, Margaret Cho. I'm sure there's more.
That's
Don't get
wonderful.
But those are the people.
But let me show you the upside of that, because I'm always looking for that. Mm-hmm. The upside of that is I was the only one, and they loved me and protected me, and I was their sister. By the time you came along, there were women now. So, yay, you were on equal footing, and it became competitive, and that's a good thing.
Right.
And
I
didn't
get
have
that.
to be nice
and
to
the
you.
other thing about you that separated you from, and look, we're not saying there was no Joan Rivers And there was no Phyllis
I'll tell you
Diller,
what the
and there was
difference
no
where the
Mons
break
Bagley.
was, and I'm happy to talk about them.
But you were a club comic. You were a club comic, and
it's not that they weren't.
Right.
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
And I call it the second golden age of comedy. And my book next year called Big Fun it's not an autobiography.
It's
the stories from those days because I was the doorman for 2.5 years and I was the fly on the wall and nobody knows these stories, which are so hilarious. And, the book is just because of our hard times right now. It's just the fun, funny book.
Right.
And it's all the great stories that you go, oh my God, I can't believe this. So that's what I'm writing about, not my life.
Right.
But here's the difference. And here's the thing that got me to look at it. You constantly hear from, feminists, which I am one, for years.
Same.
Thank you. Oh, those women were so self-deprecating. It was terrible. And now we're not. And I say, okay, let me explain this to you because it's in the liner notes of my new boxed set, Elayne Boosler Timeless.
I have it written on my notes.
Thank you. 4 iconic specials and 1 brand new CD. The liner notes put everything in context and explain this. And here's the explanation. No, they weren't self-deprecating. They were working in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
They were doing exactly what the male comics of the time were doing, reflecting their times and their audience's lives. What are you going to tell me? Oh, the women were self-deprecating. No one ever says the men were self-deprecating.
Right.
What do you think? Rodney Dangerfield was the poster boy for success?
Right, exactly.
All the men were doing the same thing. That was comedy then.
Right.
They were hangdog husbands and wives trying to survive their marriages, their kids, and their lives. And they were brilliant, the women, because they were exactly doing the right thing in stand-up.
And that was disarming at the time
They were reflecting their audience's lives. They were reflecting their times.
Right.
That was what was happening then. That's exactly what they should be doing. And Jackie Vernon and Jackie Gale and Rodney Dangerfield and all of them, they were not. They were as self-deprecating because that was what comedy was.
Right.
The break came, the big change started. Dick Gregory, Lord Buckley, Lenny Bruce, Robert Klein, of course, Richard Pryor, later George Carlin.
Right.
I mean, what happened there was it became younger, it became more outward-looking than inward-looking, and we became the town criers. When I showed up for that night to be a waitress, it was Andy Kaufman, Richard Lewis, Richard Belzer, Freddie Prinze, no Jew there, Jimmy Walker, Pryor was dropping, and Lily was dropping, and we don't count her as a stand-up because she's a gift from God, so she's just in her own cloud.
She has her own
planet, and
amazing.
Thank God she showed up.
I know.
But so that it was these young guys in their 20s, and I would listen to them while I was waitressing, and they go, hey, and they're talking about their mothers bothering them, and school, and dating, and they'd go, you ever notice? And my head went, I always notice. Know. And I went, I was 20 and I could relate. That's when it changed. And it had nothing to do with self-deprecating, not self-deprecating. We reflect our times, and the times had changed.
And you were honestly the first female. Single.
I was the first single
female.
Dressed up for
you were
a
the
date.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Dressed up for a date in Brooklyn, but still, and trying to be as smart and pretty as possible.
Right.
I wanted to be pretty. I wanted to get dates. I wanted to be smart.
Right.
And I went with all of it, and I cannot tell you night after night, you can't do this. It'll never work.
Right.
You can't. All older women coming over that were actresses. I tried it. You can't do it. And when people say you have any advice for comedians, my only advice is don't take any advice.
That's what I say. Follow your gut. Don't let anyone tell you what to do, and get as much stage time as possible.
You have to. They don't know what's inside of you. They don't know what's coming out of you. They don't know where you're going or what you see yourself as.
Right.
You must follow yourself.
You develop your act, and you end up going on the road, and you're doing 2 hours.
2.5.
2.5.
In those days.
In those days. Okay. And this is when all the guy comics are getting specials, starting to get specials, right?
Yeah, I started hitting the road in 76. The special started in the early 80s.
Early 80s. And Robert Klein, and, and this is
everyone.
a whole new, thing. Oh, you go to every fucking person and say, give me a special. I'm doing 2.5 hours on the road. Mm-hmm. Nope. Sorry, no one wants to listen to a woman talk.
No one wants to see a woman do an hour.
Right.
That was the line.
Okay. No one wants to see a woman do an hour.
Exactly. That was the line.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're like, well, fuck that.
Well, I kept bringing in my reviews from Michigan and North Dakota and, everywhere. I was everywhere, places you wouldn't think they loved me, because, what I do, I'm warm and it's funny. Right. And I'd bring in the reviews and the headlines were things like, this is the longest and funniest show we've ever seen. And I'd say 2.5 hours, and they love it. And it's not just New York and LA, it's Mississippi. And, and they go, well, they don't want to. And then finally,
was there ever a woman that you pitched to that said that?
Well, the women were higher up, like Sheila Nevins at HBO. They were higher up. So the thing that was so great was Chris Albrecht.
Yes, who by the way, was a doorman at the Improv.
Well, he bought in when Bud went to LA. Chris bought in and became the guy who ran the Improv and saw everyone and knew everything about comedy. So they steal him away to run the comedy department at HBO. And now he's seen me work for years. I go up for the meeting. He's over the moon. Oh my God, you're going to be my first project here. And it's going to be so great. I'm giving you the special and you're going to be my first special that I present. And they're going to know how good we both are. God bless Chris Albrecht, and I'm an atheist, which I am. And he said, come back next week. I come back. He walks in the room. I already knew. He said, we can't do it. They won't buy it.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What did that feel like? Was that like...
It was impossible, and here's why.
Were you devastated, or were
yes,
you like...
of course I was devastated.
And then you were like...
Well, here's why it was devastating. It killed me. It killed my career, because all these guys are doing specials and moving up to bigger places and making money. I'm still in my tiny apartment. I'm playing the same clubs year after year for the same money with new material every year. And
by the way, for listeners, that... in itself does not happen. Maybe a handful of comics have new material, like a new act every year. Yeah.
So I can't move up into better show business. Get money, make a living.
Simply because?
Because you don't have that exposure.
Right.
And nobody becomes a star on the road. They never have and they never will.
And prior to cable, a lot of people don't know this, prior to cable, you did a Tonight Show, you did something, that was it. The path was
the Tonight
kill
Show.
On the fucking Tonight Show. Johnny says, come sit down, you're done.
That was it.
And then cable came, and that was the end of that.
You don't want to hear my Tonight Show stories.
I love the Helen Reddy Tonight Show story.
Yeah, just amazing stuff. Just, no one has ever said a bad word about Johnny, because even from the grave, they're terrified of him. But he was not a good person.
Yeah,
and
there's a book about
women. Yeah. There were no books because he would kill you. He was the most powerful man in America.
Since he died,
But Craig Tennis, who was worked for the show for years, while Johnny was alive, Craig wrote a very, very complimentary book, and Johnny still had him killed because you're not allowed to talk about him.
Right.
Now the books are starting to come out to tell people what he was, and all my stories will be in big fun when it comes out.
Well, hello. First of all, what he did to Joan.
And what he did to me, I'm telling you. But yes, what he did to Joan.
I can't wait to say.
What he did to Joan was unconscionable, because you and I are the kind of people where if we helped someone get a leg up and then she or he got something good, we'd root
be
for
like,
them.
yay!
Hey, no one's going to knock Johnny Carson off number one. It should have been like, hey, whatever audience you get, congratulations, and I'm rooting for you.
Right.
Because we help our friends and we know who we are. We're going to be fine.
Right.
And he was that small a human being that he couldn't even let her.
Who else is that small?
Everyone.
Orange.
Yeah.
Okay.
This week's episode of It's Judy Show with Judy Gold is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you know me, which I think you do because you're listening to my podcast right now, you know that I am a big advocate for therapy. I think it benefits everyone. I think there's so many people who need it, who don't partake. It is so important for your emotional health and well-being. Therapy is fantastic. It is in every stretch of the imagination. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, please do it. But please give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It suits your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I have switched therapists in my life. I've had many, many therapists, and sometimes it's not a great fit for you, but don't give up. Therapy is beneficial. You can learn about yourself, you can process, and just be emotionally healthy. I'm telling you. do it. BetterHelp is great because, when I used to schlep to my therapist's office, it was so annoying. You have to do it, and you sit there and you wait. And then I'm telling you, doing it online is fantastic. And BetterHelp is amazing. I know a lot of people who've used it. So if you're thinking about therapy, go to BetterHelp.com. Let the gratitude flow. This is Gratitude Month, people. So you need to let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JudyGold, JudyGold, today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome.
What comes next for you?
Nothing changed.
Nothing.
It's pretty much the same.
You did a lot of Lettermans.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of Lettermans.
24. I've just found out because someone recently cut them together on Twitter, and they're all on YouTube now. He did it in 2 90-minute sets, and it turned out to be 24. I had no idea.
24, and what is that, 6-7 minutes?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
He cut together 24.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So one day you're on the Tonight Show with Helen Reddy as the, she was sitting in for Johnny. Do you remember this?
They used a lot of guest hosts in those days.
Yeah. And you come on and she says, you're an inspiration to so many women out there. You said, I hope I'm an inspiration to everyone, basically.
I think I might have said men, too.
Yeah, men. And I love that. I fucking love that.
One of my earliest lines, which still gets quoted forever, is, I'm just a human being trapped in a woman's body.
Right.
And that's like up on walls and places.
So great.
Someone just put it up on Twitter. I swear to you, the other day. I hope you get paid
for that.
Yeah, I don't get paid, but I get
right.
credit, which
All
is,
right.
rare enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just a human being trapped in a woman's body. And if you look at all of us that way, that's what we are.
Yeah. You also, you've said, because, and a lot of people don't realize this, that comics do a lot of benefits and do a lot of pro bono shows.
A lot of free work.
Right. And you said, this is a quote, to be a successful comic, there has to be some good in you.
I believe that.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's going to come watch you for an hour and a half if they think that there's so much hate in you?
Right.
But, now I'm kind of watching a lot and I think, well, it comes out of either love or maybe some hate too.
But you look at the president, who I will be unnamed. And
we have a president?
This guy that's sitting there.
By the way, you know that I got credit in the Urban Dictionary for coining scrotus.
You did?
Yes.
I fucking love that.
Boom. Look in the Urban Dictionary. And scrotus is, and it came to me instantly when the Pussy tapes came out and I went, oh, he's never going to be POTUS.
Right.
He's scrotum plus POTUS.
I love
and
that.
scrotus is the word and I got the credit.
I love it.
Yep.
Scrotus.
We'll just call him I call him Scrotus and the Third Lady.
I love that.
That's who they are, Scrotus
So
and the
brilliant.
Third
You're
Lady.
so fucking brilliant.
No, I'm cold.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, we'll be done soon.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
I'm loving being here with you.
Oh, I love you.
Judala.
So Scrotus is the epitome of
a tiny person in every way.
You said that Lenny Bruce was one of your big influences.
Well, what do you think the Mount Rushmore of comedy is? Well, and I'm not on it, so don't feel bad.
I would go Pryor.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Oh, he's not Jewish. Is there a woman?
Yes.
I would go. Is it who I think?
Yes.
It's Joan?
No, it's Lily.
Lily!
Yeah.
I know! But she didn't do stand-up. But
Doesn't
I was
matter.
also thinking Mom's Mabley was very...
They were all great.
Yeah.
There's great.
But Lily
is, an angel dropped down.
She's I saw her recently in Jamestown at the comedy.
I think we talked about this.
And it's
yeah.
I can't fucking believe
shut
she's
up.
out of. It's not.
Yeah.
There's no comparison to her.
Oh, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And she based her life on Ruth Draper, who was a famous,
Yes.
Lily before Lily.
Yeah.
And we used to do Broadway, and she sat in this big chair. And when Ruth died, her manager gave Lily the chair, Ruth's chair.
Oh,
I know, it's
that's so
wonderful.
sweet.
I know. It's gorgeous.
Lily,
all
right, go ahead.
Lily did a benefit for us, my Tales of Joy, my animal rescue. And so I walk in backstage. She got there way early to prepare because she's an artist. And I show up a minute before.
Right.
But so she's there and I walk backstage and there's like 3 empty bottles of wine. And I said, Lily, how can you? And she looked at me, she said, how can you not? I can't even drink a month before I go on. I have to be so straight because they can't hit a moving target.
You are a puzzle master. I mean, you're, first of all...
Not a master, but a fan.
You're a fucking master.
Stop
First of all, you've written Friday puzzles for the New York Times.
No, Wednesday.
Okay, whatever. I couldn't write
I couldn't even do the Friday puzzles.
I couldn't even do Monday at midnight. I can't... You have written and you did one about comedy, didn't you? You did one.
Well, what
theme?
I do is I write for Wordplay, the New York Times, and I have a new Wordplay article, which will be up the 30th of this month because my episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend airs that night.
Oh, awesome!
So it's going to be my Crazy Ex-Word.
Oh,
for the crossword.
I love it.
So the funny article in Solving will be up on November 30th, and then you can watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend that night.
That's so great.
And I have a duet with Tova Felchu. I'm so
my
excited.
God.
I know, it's so good.
And you love crossword puzzles.
I do.
And you write, I mean.
Yeah.
And it so goes.
I just went to Crossword Weekend up in upstate New York this weekend. We do it once a year. It's called Will Shortz's Wonderful World of Words, and it's 200 geeks who just play puzzles. And
do you make puzzles during the?
They make them all year to get them ready for us, and we go there. I entertained last year, which was a lot of fun. I found I had said yes before I knew that it was 10 o'clock Sunday morning.
Right.
So I went in my pajamas and I got on stage
hilarious.
and I said, "Here's something I've never said in 46 years of stand-up. Good morning."
So, and I think that your love of the puzzles and the words.
We're
really,
wordsmiths.
It's so,
it's why I don't curse on stage. I just feel like, well, I know you do. I've seen you and I love you, but it fits everything you're doing.
Because that's how I talk, and that's
how
I
you
always
talk, and you have to be authentic.
New Jersey,
I know, but I curse like a sailor off stage. But the reason I don't curse on stage, I think, and I never did, I just felt like I really wanted to be political and sexual.
Right.
And I felt like in those days, nobody cursed because I'm telling you, you only could do television. There was no club life.
That's why Maisel, when she's cursing on
it's
stage.
All ridiculous.
I know.
And that's why also I'm dying up here failed because it was so inauthentic.
Right.
I didn't hear the word motherfucker till 1983.
Do you think the part I did on
You were fucking brilliant.
Was that you?
Brilliant. Oh, I don't think so at all because you were doing like a Vegas Rusty Warren.
Right.
I think it was more Rusty Warren, not Belle Barth, but more of a Rusty Warren.
They did.
Who I'm a good friend of and I love to. Oh, she's magnificent.
Will you say?
I will. They go to Palm Springs in the winter. We'll all go up for lunch.
All right, let's do it.
And she's on your side of the fence.
That's right.
That's right.
LGBTQRST.
There you go. LGBLT with no mayo. So... no, you were breathtaking on that show. But there was no cursing in those days because your only outlet for your act, if you got good, was television. There was no place else to go.
Right.
And Vegas had no cursing.
Right.
So nobody cursed.
Right.
So I didn't curse because there was no, and then when cursing became allowed, I was already not doing it.
Right, yeah.
But I got through so much more politics and sex without giving them the heads up that it was going to be sex.
Right.
I got a lot more through.
Right.
So
I don't know. I've never not spoken like
that. Do
that.
what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a success. It works. You. If you weren't successful, you go, oh, let me do this. But you have to be yourself.
I know. But Elisa, my girlfriend, is always like, Judy, do you think you're cursing too much? And then I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Pryor talk the way you talk.
Right.
Carlin talk. This
Right.
is me. This is not what it should be. This is what I did.
Well, that's right.
Everybody does his and her thing correctly.
Let's talk about...
And I love it. I mean, Pryor's my all-time, and Lenny.
Beyond.com.
Lenny didn't curse. I mean, it's hilarious. People think he's filthy. You play his stuff, now you go, no, he took on the church and the government. And that's why they thought he was dangerous, but it wasn't about sex after all.
So people are idiots.
Well, they are.
So I asked my guests the same two questions. There's two questions.
There are. Oh my God. We didn't even do our a neighborhood. We should just do a few minutes of who we really like to be at home. Oh my God. We were coming back. We were in Montauk this weekend to do the New York Times crossword weekend. Yeah. Okay. So I say to my husband, Bill, and he's gentle. He's such a goyish cup. It's impossible. He's happy.
He's so nice.
He's happy.
Yeah.
He's too nice.
Oh, please.
It's horrible. He buys like 3 hot dogs for a barbecue. And I say, what is this? He goes, when we're out of food, they'll go home. I said, okay, die.
Oh my God. I can't with the non-Jews and not enough
They don't
food.
get it. They don't get it. They don't. It's like ridiculous.
I know.
Anyway, he's just so, I say, okay, we're going to so-and-so for dinner, grab a bottle of wine. Why? If they're making dinner, wouldn't they have wine?
Oh my God. Where did he grow up?
He's a rock and roll road dog, no social graces. And it's very sad.
Right.
So anyway, so we're in Montauk, we're driving home through Jersey, and I say, I love diners because I love the fact that diners have a 400-page menu. And the kitchen is 2 feet by 2 feet, and they make everything from lobster fra diavolo to chateaubriand for 2 to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to lobster thermidor, which is very hard to find now.
To an omelet.
And the best fries you'll ever get. And it's hard to find a bad diner.
Yeah.
So I'm yelping, and we're driving, and I say, oh my God, you have to go back 16 miles. He goes, no, because we already drove 85 miles. I said, this got 4.2 stars this diner. We have to go back. So we go back, and what's the old joke? Poison and such small portions.
I can't stand Yelp people are so fucking annoying.
TripAdvisor is very accurate.
Yeah, TripAdvisor is really
great.
Good. But
very
the
accurate.
Yelps are all like miserable. It's
Everybody's
like
unhappy
I
on Yelp.
went in and I had my dog and she looked at my dog as if why we and I'm like, oh my God.
The hostess was not very welcoming. Because she's making 9 cents an hour and they don't get tipped. So deal with it,
What would you say?
TripAdvisor is good. Okay, back to the 2 questions.
Well, no,
I'm nervous now.
No, their 2 questions are so easy. But
okay.
what would you?
An oak. If I was going. Is it what kind of tree would I be?
I am a very pro mental health podcast. We're very no stigma. I suffer from anxiety and depression. So
you're a comic and you're Jewish. What else is?
We always
what
ask
do you think?
our
You're
guests.
special?
I know, true. But it's interesting. But we ask our guests if they've ever been on antidepressants.
Who hasn't been?
Okay, yay!
Who isn't on?
You can't believe. Sometimes I'm talking to someone. I'm like, no, I've never done that.
Well, then
and
it's
I'm like,
probably.
Oh my God!
Wait. Good comics.
I'm gonna have to go back.
You're gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
But, let me tell you how many dogs we have on antidepressants.
Really? Oh my God! My neighbor has a dog who has literally been biting people and is a fucking cunt.
She needs to put the dog on Prozac.
And I was like, "Can't you do?" No, I can't. I'm like, you're gonna get kicked out of the building.
Well, first of all, I have the greatest trainer in the world, but he's not here. But it's a company that trains these trainers the same, and I might find someone.
It's
here
a
for
Yorkie
you.
something.
Doesn't matter.
No, I mean it's like a little, and it's like it's like
an ankle biter.
Shut the fuck up! And the other dog's so fucking nice.
That's no good. Well, I have great trainers. I'll find out if there's one in New York. And Prozac does come. Sometimes they've just had a bad. Who knows?
I know.
Like
I always say, we're all mental. You can't. I'm sure every dog is mental too.
The world changed for animals and people, but I don't know anyone who's not any comic who's not an antidepressant.
Oh, please.
I mean, I'm on the lowest dose possible, but it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
Gee, yeah.
I mean, this is like the theme of my life and why I called my podcast Kill Me Now is I like to discuss with people what pisses them off more than anything in the entire world. Like makes you fucking crazy.
Everything. You know what? Willful ignorance.
Yes.
Because I didn't graduate high school, and I love when they call me, well, you elites, you coastal elites.
Oh, I know.
And I think, honey, I didn't graduate high school. I was beaten every day of my life. You have no idea.
Right.
I thank you for calling me an elite. What a great compliment. Thank you. But, didn't it used to be a kind of a great honor to be called elite?
Right.
I mean, was it elite flying on United Airlines? And that was a great thing. Now it's a shame to have an education.
Right.
And my education was self
I mean, you're fucking brilliant.
I learned.
You can pick up a book, fuckheads.
Exactly. And the fact that no one wants to, the fact that they want to sit there with, MAGA signs and listen to this piece of flotsam, talk, and they don't understand. I'm going to be fine. You're going to be fine. They're going to die soon because they're not going to have any medical coverage. Thank goodness, the house changed and they may get some saved. But if the house hadn't
they're not even
going to
know that's why.
No, they're not going to know that's why. But to not understand, it's that great meme of the women voting Republican and it's the woman sitting there punching herself in the face. And that's the meme. It's like black people in the KKK, Jews for the Nazi party. There's no difference. The regular middle class who supports him doesn't understand what's going on here. But it has to be willful.
And that he doesn't give a fucking shit about
not
you.
Get
and
that?
all those people at his fucking rallies, he wouldn't let them into Mar-a-Lago.
That's the whole point. They're not invited to the White House. They're not invited to. They're not going to play golf on his golf courses.
He fucked up the whole fucking White House.
And the thing, the thing, the willful ignorance, the desire to be dumb, the desire to be blind. That's what makes people dangerous.
Right.
I didn't want to be dumb when I got out of high school with no diploma, and I traveled the world. Luckily for work, I got that opportunity. But even if I never traveled the world, I would have picked up a book and learned something.
But did you know you were smart? Like you have to have known.
No, I never passed anything except French in high school and English. So I knew those were my gifts.
But
language. No, and I wasn't smart. I was so dumb. I'll tell you. You said you worked the Improv when Silver owned it. I was such a bad waitress because I was terrified and cowed because of my childhood that I couldn't waitress. I made a million mistakes. I only waitress for 2 nights before they made me the hostess because you don't lift things. You don't get to carry a drink. But literally, I had so many mistakes on my check the first night. It's the first word Silver Friedman ever said to me in my whole, decades of knowing her. Well, she wasn't Jewish.
Silver wasn't?
Oh, she was. You're right. I'm sorry. The first thing Silver Friedman ever said to me, she looked at my check with all the mistakes and she said, "Great teeth, but you're dumb." and me being as dumb as I was said, "Really? Great teeth?" Because I didn't know any better.
Thank you so much for listening to my interview with Elayne Boosler. Such a wonderful person. Kill Me Now is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling. This podcast would not be possible without the marketing skills and scheduling skills and every other skill that we can attribute to Brittany Jo Sowards Richmond. Yep, married a Jew. Okay, I say that every week. If you like the show, you have to subscribe and leave a review. It should be 5 stars. As I've mentioned previously, I don't know how much longer I'll be doing the podcast because I make no fucking money. But then I get people texting me, or not texting me, like writing to me on, Instagram and Twitter, where I'm at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD, and telling me they love the podcast, and then I feel guilty. But it's like I can't keep paying to do this podcast. So something's coming. I don't know when. Something's coming. I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be great. So, change is good. Also, let's see. I just wanted to say, let's see, where is this? I want to say thank you to this woman who sent me a what's it called? What's it called? It's a, what's this called? It's called Instagram. Okay. The Instagram message, here it is. Where is it? It was basically said, "Did I see you screaming at your city bike on 80?" Oh, no, wait. I'll give you the exact thing because I took a picture of it. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So, all right, this is the story. I go to City Bike. If you live in the city, they have City Bike, and you get these electric bikes, and it's like, I just prefer to ride a bike to work, especially to 59E, 59 theaters, because it's so hard to get the crosstown bus. Takes for fucking ever. So I decide I'm going to ride a bike. I bring my helmet. I go to the city bike. I have my own bike, but I don't, I get out late and I don't want to ride a bike home. So I decided I'm going to get a shitty bike. So I go to shitty bike on right by my house, like a block away. And there's all these bikes available, but they're not available because they're not fucking working. They're all fucking broken. So then I walk 4 blocks to another shitty bike dock station, and none of the fucking electric bikes are working. So I have to get a regular bike, which is fine. I'm fine doing it. It just takes a little longer. Okay. So I get on the regular bike, and I forgot to adjust the seat, and I'm walking across 87th Street. And I'm so fucking mad, and I start yelling, God damn it, all I wanted to do was go to work, and this fucking shitty bike sucks. And there was a guy by the city bike, and he was trying to get a bike. I said, it doesn't work. And he's like, they never work. And I was like, yeah, this fucking shitty. And he fucking hates shitty bike, and he started laughing. He's like, have a good day. Anyway, then I get this on my Instagram messages. Were you yelling at your city bike in the middle of Amsterdam and 87th today? Okay. And yes, I was, Sarah. And I'm so glad you could experience it. So then I took a picture of that, and I sent it to Elisa, Henry, and Ben. And they all started laughing because they know I scream at inanimate objects all the time. So that was the exciting thing that happened to me this week. And fuck shitty bike. They suck. All right. Well, that's it. I don't know what else to tell you. Thank you all for your love and support. I just want to say that the person who wrote to me, I don't know what they wrote me on. I think it might be Tweetar. I don't even know. I don't know. I'm doing my best here. But, things have to... things change. So anyway, but I love you all. I love all of you for listening to the end, whoever you are. If you are still listening, I love you so much. I don't know who the fuck would listen to the end of this. Thank you all so much. And as we always say, so long.